What's going on, guys? This is Rob, and as you guys know from the Avengers Doomsday cast reveal, the great chair reveal of 2025, that Tom Holland's name did not appear on the cast members who are going to appear in Avengers Doomsday. Now, it is important to specify here that Marvel is apparently not done revealing everybody who's going to appear in the film. So it's entirely possible that Tom Holland may show up in the next cast reveal. So for those of you guys who are going to comment down below, but Rob, Marvel is apparently not done revealing to us all the cast members who are going to appear in the film. So it's entirely possible that Tom Holland could appear in Avengers Doomsday. I know. I just said that. So the question is this, right? If Tom Holland isn't going to be in Avengers Doomsday, which would kind of make sense because his next movie, Spider-Man 4, takes place between Avengers Doomsday and Avengers Secret Wars, well, then the question becomes, what's he going to be doing during that point in time? Well, we know from the casting call for Spider-Man 4, and seemingly the confirmations that have come out, that Sadie Sink is going to play a character in the film. I mean, you know, a redhead in a Spider-Man movie? I wonder who it could be. But with regards to the other casting calls that are going on, there's apparently a call for a woman who is 30 to 50 years old who's going to play the main villain in the film. Now, I'll talk about who that is here in a second, but I want to talk for a minute about what would be going on with Tom and why he wouldn't be in that movie. Well, if the rumors from a couple months ago are true, and Sony is looking heavily at selling the rights of Spider-Man back to Marvel for however much money they're going to pay, then it would make perfect sense that Marvel would start planning ahead and start working things out in such a way to where they could begin the process of rolling his character over. This could be doubly important because of the fact that we know Beyond the Spider-Verse has seemingly been delayed indefinitely, but I don't really think it has. I think Beyond the Spider-Verse was delayed when talks started going on between Marvel and Sony about Marvel getting the rights to Spider-Man back, because that would completely change how the movie would need to be done, specifically for this reason here. So if the casting call for this woman who's 30 to 50 are true, that 30 to 50 age range is the perfect range for a character in Marvel Comics called Verna. Now, I don't know how many of you guys remember who she is. You'll know if I tell you what group she's a part of, but the name oftentimes gets lost on people. But for those of you guys who don't know, Verna is part of a group called the Inheritors. Now, a lot of you guys know who the Inheritors are, but for those of you who don't, the Inheritors are immensely powerful beings. Not so far in terms of like cosmic energies or anything like that, but the character of Morlun, for example, was the first real Inheritor that we were introduced to during the J. Michael Straczynski run, I think, and definitely during the Dan Slott run. But the overall gist is that during those particular stories, there's a point where Morlun is hunting after Peter and trying to kill him, and they fight a few times. And Peter makes these comments about how Morlun is faster than anyone he's ever encountered, and Morlun hits as hard, if not harder, than the Incredible Hulk. So these guys are wildly capable in terms of their abilities. But what's the story of the Inheritors, and why does all this matter? So in the J. Michael Straczynski and Dan Slott runs, Marvel introduced the idea of totems, specifically individuals who derive their powers from some god within the animal kingdom, and they become an avatar for that god of the animal kingdom in the real world. So a good example is Black Panther. The Black Panther derives his powers from the heart-shaped herb, and that Black Panther represents a panther. Specifically, he is the avatar of the panther goddess Bast when it comes to Peter Parker as Spider-Man. And any of the other spider people who are out there, they are avatars for the spider god Anansi. This was actually confirmed for the character of Miles Morales more recently during the Miles Morales solo series, where literally he was tasked by the spider god Anansi to fight Black Panther while both Anansi and Bast watch the conflict unfold. And so one of the things to know here is that when it comes to the Inheritors, much like Spider-Man and much like Black Panther, they do represent an animal on the totem, but they represent the leech, which is all the way at the bottom of the totem. The kicker about this is that, as you guys know, leeches suck blood. And so the avatars within the Marvel Universe basically take the life force of other people. And that's why the inheritors do what they do. Now, specifically, the inheritors go after spider people for a few different reasons. The first reason is because there's kind of an old prophecy that says that spider totems are the only totems that would actually be able to defeat the inheritors. So if for no other reason than self-preservation, they went after spider people directly. Another part of this has to do with the Master Weaver, character of Karn, that kind of thing. But in essence, by being able to defeat the Master Weaver and overpower it, it gave the inheritors the ability to access the multiverse, which as far as they were concerned, was like an unlimited pass to a buffet of food everywhere they went. And the third reason is because as far as the inheritors are concerned, spider people just taste the best. Also because during Black Panther Volume 5, I think it was issues 3 through 6, Morlun, one of the inheritors, goes to Wakanda, or I'm sorry, is resurrected within Wakanda by some kind of crazy rogue group, and tries to fight Shuri, the Black Panther, and Shuri helps him understand his place in the bigger picture. So they don't really mess with the Panther totems. But the bigger point is this, right? The inheritors are, or at least were at all times, traveling around the multiverse and killing Spider-Man everywhere that they could find them. Kind of a great hunt type situation. And they were doing this all the time. So the question is, if we take this information and we apply it here, what we can say is that the character of Verna, who was an inheritor and basically ruled alongside Solace, while Solace was the patriarch, so he was the official head of the family, you could just turn that over and just say that Verna's the one who runs everything. And instead of having this great big huge long drawn out cat and mouse game between Morlun and Spider-Man, like what we saw during the Straczynski and Dan Slott runs, that instead Verna just shows up, and Verna's like, I am an inheritor, and our job is to kill spider people. And literally she and the other inheritors are just traveling around killing them, and this just happens to be the most recent stop. Now, how do you go beyond that, and how do you reconcile the idea of the Spider-Verse if that's what Marvel's doing? Well, here's exactly what you do. So when it comes to everything happening in the Spider-Verse, again, there's a lot of unresolved plot threads that would need to be wrapped up. And some of these plot threads are just self-resolving, right? For example, Miles Morales, who's currently dealing with Prowler Miles, probably one of the most amazing looking versions of Miles that I think I've ever seen in the history of Marvel Comics. But it's not as though, Spider-Man Miles Morales traveled to the universe where Ultimate Miles is for the purpose of defeating him. He just kind of ended up there, right? And that the whole goal of Miles, his whole shtick within the Spider-Verse films, is to just try to keep his dad alive. His dad is supposed to die, but he just wants to keep him alive. And so if he's rescued by Spider-Gwen and the other, individuals who broke away from Miguel's Spider Society in order to find Miles, well, that resolves that plot thread right there. You can literally do it within 5 minutes. I mean, I don't know if they'll do that, but you can resolve it pretty quickly. As far as Miguel and them are concerned, they're on the hunt for Miles Morales. So if they end up finding him, that resolves that plot thread. More so than that, the biggest plot thread that is yet to be resolved is the entire plot with Spot, this guy who poses a clear and present danger to the multiverse. But again, that can also be wrapped up pretty fast. I don't know if it's a good idea to do that, but it can be done. And so if it's this instance where like Gwen and them are jumping from one reality to the next in an effort to find Miles Morales, who's to say they don't end up in the main Marvel Cinematic Universe and come across Tom Holland? Now, the cool thing about this is the stage is set for Tom to take off from the universe and join everybody on some crazy quest. Why? Well, because no one remembers who he is. So it's not as though if he takes off, he's got to say his goodbyes to MJ, and he's got to say his goodbyes to Ned Leeds and all that kind of stuff, and I may or may not see you guys again. No. The guy could just bail. He can disappear. No one's going to know he's gone. And if, from what we've seen in Daredevil Season 1 is to be believed, outside of a single reference to him, no one cares that he's there. That's the real question, man. If Kingpin's anti-vigilante task force, as an aside here, if it's designed to go after people with masks, does that include Spider-Man, or does he get a pass because he just seems cool? I don't know. It's a plot thread that's not resolved in the show, and it may very well not be. But staying on track here, right, if it's so easy for Peter to just bail out, then you have Gwen and them show up and say, hey, we're in the wrong universe. We're hunting for Miles Morales. Like, have you seen him? And Tom's like, no, I haven't seen Miles, but what's going on? And they explain the whole situation to him. And they're like, look, we need help. The Spider Society is, 630 strong? Like, we could absolutely use some help in finding our friend. And so basically Tom ends up going on this grand adventure with them. And now Tom is officially part of the Spider Society within the Across the Spider-Verse franchise. And then the plot just kind of unfolds as it needs to from there. And you could even go so far as to say that in this instance with Verna, that Spider-Man faces off against Verna, and with the help of Gwen and them, that they're able to defeat Verna, not really kill her, right? It's one of these things where she shakes her fist angrily in the air, right? You haven't seen the last of me, and then just takes off through a portal back to wherever it was that she came from, or whatever the case is. But then Tom becomes a part of the Spider-Verse, and that's how Marvel starts to reconcile things, because what this movie does is it basically goes directly into Beyond the Spider-Verse, whenever that film gets written, and that movie hopefully would come out before the events of Avengers Doomsday, Avengers Secret Wars, and so the whole plot for Beyond the Spider-Verse is completed, right? That's done, Spot's defeated, and everybody is brought together, right, by the TVA or whatever superheroes have been organized by Pedro Pascal's Fantastic Four at the very end of the film. They're officially brought in to Battleworld, or whatever that case happens to be. Maybe they're all just pulled there, right? They never actually meet anybody from the TVA, and on Battleworld is when they meet everybody for the very first time. You know, who knows? I have no idea. But the fact is, that's how everybody gets consolidated. It is also important to completely admit here, I'm most likely wrong, and what would most likely happen here is that Tom Holland is just going to be fighting some villain of the week type character in his movie. And that when Avengers Secret Wars kicks off, that Tom Holland, along with a few other people, some individuals from the Spider-Verse, are going to be snatched up by Doom or whatever it is when the multiverse collapses. They're going to be thrown onto Battleworld, and, you know, Shamik Moore's Miles Morales is going to come across Tom Holland's Spider-Man, and that's how they meet and all that kind of cool stuff. But I wanted to throw this idea out there. I wanted to throw this whole theory out there because I don't know if Marvel's going to like announce this. And if they do, I want to be able to beat them to the punch. And I want to be able to say that I came up with it first. But let me know what you guys think down in the comments section, because I'll be completely honest. Right? As much as I love the Spider-Verse films, it's about the only successful thing that Sony's producing when it comes to anything Spider-Man related. And again, if the rumors are true, because of how poorly all the other movies are doing, Kraven the Hunter, Madam Web, Morbius, so on and so forth, that they're just going to kind of give the rights back to Marvel, because when these movies cost hundreds of millions of dollars to make and they're constantly in the negative, losing almost as much money as they spent in making these films, it doesn't really seem worth it, right? And so if Marvel is going to go the route of consolidating the entire Spider-Verse together, Tom Holland is the way in which it gets done. Now, this also leaves out things like Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield. As I understand it, they are going to appear in either Avengers Doomsday as the next set of cast members that are revealed, or they're going to appear in Avengers Secret Wars. We know they're going to come back. We've been told that, right? So they're going to reappear again, as well as potentially Alfred Molina's Dr. Octopus, and most of the characters that we've come to know and love over the years that are Marvel properties appearing in various films. Maybe that also happens with Venom. Not entirely sure. I haven't seen Venom 3, so I don't know if he dies in the end. I have no intention of seeing that movie, but I want to know your all's thoughts, right? Do you think I'm crazy? Do you think it's entirely possible? Let me know what you think down in the comments section. But thank you all for watching, and I will catch you all later. Peace.